Dude, look at those beautiful bricks behind you. Look at the foundation of music that's stacked up behind you. Look at those cassettes. I'm so jealous.
You good with that?
Are you kidding? I've been online trying to find cassettes. You know how hard it is even to find? Well, yes, you do, because you have a collection.
Yeah.
It's really challenging to find cassettes now. And it's something that about 6 to 9 months ago, I just was like, oh, I don't know, I really want that sound, that feeling. How long have you been collecting?
Well, I just started again. It took me about 3 years to get what I got right now, because some tapes are just harder to find than others, you know, depending upon how many. I never even thought this as a kid, but like when you think about like a release, especially back in the day, it would like, you don't really know how many units they pressed up even. So like a Sweet Tea, that fucking tape, I still can't find it. I still can't find it. I can't find it new, because what I do is I collect the unopened one. Mm-hmm. And then if they have another one that's either open or like if I get 2 unopened ones, I open the one and I keep the other one.
Keep the other one.
You know.
So you're a real collector. This isn't even just about the aesthetic appeal of listening to things on tape or having the collection. You're a collector. You're preserving these things.
Absolutely. Because when I was a kid, I didn't have money to buy every tape I ever wanted. You know what I'm saying? So usually what we had to do was go to this place called Record Time, and I would take the tape that came out a couple of weeks ago, trade it in for the new tape, you know, whatever else was out.
Would you dub? I mean, whatever, like back then it's like piracy is killing music. Everyone was dubbing everything. Would you dub what you had onto a blank cassette, which were cheaper, and then go and trade it?
Absolutely. Me and my friends would take turns buying the tape and be like, it's your turn to buy this tape and I get to dub it. And then it'll be my turn to buy the next tape.
Let me go and get 50, 60-minute TDKs. Let me go and get 50, 60-minute TDKs, and then you give me your collection. I'll give you my collection, and then let's just like destroy the record industry one dub at a time. No idea what we were doing.
Yeah, but it also was like you would dub some shit, and it'd be like, the air would be like, and you'd hear the air more than the tape. You'd have to turn it all the way up, and then all you hear is the bass from it. And yeah, that sucks. But I said to myself, if I ever make it one day as a rapper, I'm going to get every tape that I always wanted.
I love that.
And there's something nostalgic about being able to hold the tape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like when you used to look at it's almost like when you used to stare at the cereal box when you was a kid, like while you're eating breakfast and staring at the cereal box. Yeah. It's like you stare at the I don't know what they're called, J card or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Open it and honestly, me and my friends back in the day thought that if like Big Daddy Kane would have a fold out.
Yeah. It would go, some of them would go on. He's made money. He's successful.
Yeah. That was our gauge to like.
Yeah. You get these ones that you would open it up and it would just be the single side. It would be nothing to unfold. Yeah. It would just be the tiny short
nothing
side.
On the other,
nothing on the other side.
Yeah. I used to get pissed when that would happen too. Because if you got like I'm trying to think of who, like PE, Public Enemy had usually had their lyrics inside the thing. So you fold it out. Yeah. Man, De La Soul. Yeah. De La Soul had the crazy rollout. It was like a fucking cartoon. And the whole shit was like just roll out to here and shit. And I was like, yeah, they made it.
See, same with People's Instinctive Travels. I remember going and getting that from Real Groovy Records and bringing that back on cassette and just being like, had never heard of them before, just took a shot, blind, deaf, had no idea who they were, just looked ill. Brought it home and was like, what is this, with the pictures and the artwork? And sometimes I think that was more of an exciting thing to unfold than a gatefold sleeve or a vinyl sometimes, because it had this, you had to be really creative with the space.
Yeah. Also, like a record is not going to give you the feel of having the tape, and it's not going to give you the information. It's not going to give you all the, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I always collected tapes. I know a lot of my friends collected like vinyl and shit back in the day, but me, I'm a tape person.
How many do you have, do you think? Estimate.
This holds 600. And then I got another one across my room over here that holds about 300. But if you look at some of these I got doubles of, like, okay, let me show you. Raheem, the Vigilante. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, yeah. Bro, This tape was so hard to fucking find. And I also consider it like a classic. It's like a classic album to me. So if I'm online and I see like 3 of them, I'm gonna get 3 of them. I'm gonna get all 3 just to have, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't really know how many more are left in this world. Who bought a tape back in the day and never opened it?
Yeah. Who would have done that? But somebody did. Somebody with the same mentality as you that loves it as a aesthetic experience, a tactile experience, not just the distribution of music, but actually to hold it in your hand. That's who doesn't open that stuff. People who just love the actual product. You know what I mean? Yeah,
but not me. I had a tape when I was a kid. If I had to spend my fucking $6 on it, I'm opening that bitch.
What was the tape? What's the one that springs to mind when you were at that point in your life when you didn't have 2 pennies to rub together and you got that tape? What was the one that you were like, this is the one I've been waiting for. This is the most exciting thing I've pressed play on ever.
I mean, I can't even gauge that. I can't even gauge that because, let me see. It was like, okay, backing up to what I remember, like my earliest memories of hip hop would be for sure Ice-T, Reckless. And then I saw the movie Breakin'. My Uncle Ronnie actually brought the tape over, the Breakin' tape. And I don't even think I knew at the time. I was like 10 or 11. And I don't even think I knew at the time that there was even a movie called Breakin'. So he put me up on a lot of shit. And that was one of the first rap songs I remember hearing. And then I went and watched the movie, and then I was all in. You know what I'm saying? Like that was, yeah, man. But there's too many to even, you know, hip hop in its infancy stages was the most exciting thing I'd ever seen as a kid.
Me too.
So like, Big Daddy Kane would come out with something, and you're bumping that, and then Biz Markie would come out with something, you're bumping that, like.
And you would connect the dots. Like what you would see on the artwork was your entire roadmap. Because we didn't have any of the things, it's too obvious to even point out the list of things that now everyone can dive into and find out what they need to find out. But back then, each cassette, each thing you bought would lead to the next thing. So, all right, cold chillin'. Oh, I see that logo on this. Let me try this one out. Not as good as the last thing, but the next thing's even better than the one I just heard before. You know what I mean? And that's how you did it. Like, those little breadcrumbs were everything. Because we grew up at a time when, and I don't know how it was for you when you were in Detroit or wherever you were at that moment in your life, but in New Zealand, there was like 3 things in a record store at any given time. You'd buy them all if you could. And then there'd be one more thing and 2 more things. It wasn't like they all just landed, like hip hop landed on planet Earth.
Yeah, and then a lot of times you're taking a gamble. You might buy a whack tape. Yeah. You might buy some shit that you're like, what the f is this? You know what I'm saying? But for me, it was like I'm trying to think of the chronological order, but you know, Run DMC, LL. This is my friend LL over here. Some of you know him as LL Cool J. I know him as Todd.
What is the sign? What did he sign? What did he say on the
my
poster?
My friend Todd.
What did he say on the poster?
It said, "To Marshall, salute. You can do anything you put your mind to."
Wow.
That's LL Cool J quoting one of my lyrics.
Wow.
To me, that shit is fucking crazy. And you know, I was listening in the gym yesterday to Tougher Than Leather. The way that Run DMC, man, the way their voices meshed. You'll never hear that again. Wait, I'll give you another one. Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys was like the white Run DMC.
Yeah.
Their voices, all of their voices meshed together so fucking well. Like but Run DMC, bro, the way they would interchange and just go like say one line, like I've never heard a group.
And then Jam Master Jay would come in, and somehow, even with the energy of DMC and Run, the DJ comes in, and his scratches are as powerful and as exciting as they are on the mic. No one's ever scratched with that level of intensity, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, man, I remember I'll never forget where I was when I saw the King of Rock video. I was at my Aunt Edna's house, and I was sleep in the living room sometimes with the TV on. I remember I was about to go to sleep, and I don't even know what channel I was watching. And that came on when they were walking up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and shit. I'm like, what? Oh, shit, that's Run DMC. I had never seen a video. I knew who Run DMC was, but I had never seen an actual video from them. I was probably, I don't know, 11 or 12 maybe.
Yeah.
I can't, somewhere around there. Yeah. But yeah, man. And it was just so like, come on, man. Who the f was cooler than Run DMC?
Nobody. I remember
Who was cooler?
I remember seeing
Nobody.
footage of them on an after school like special after school show. It would do news for kids and was mainly about like nature and stuff like that, whatever. And then there's just this new trend sweeping America, and they had footage of Run DMC and Jam Master Jay was like 6 feet in the air with 2 red sirens going while they were just stalking the stage with this crazy energy, and they just dressed all in black with these Adidas on, and I was like, I'm on Mars right now. And that was it for me. That was the defining moment for me in the genre and the art form and the culture. Like, I was just all in. Even in Auckland, I was just like, I don't even know, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah. I had many of those moments. Like hip hop, I feel like, you know, in its infancy stages, as much as it's evolved and it's went through all these transitions and I feel like a lot of these kids won't understand the experience of hip hop in its infancy stages. And everyone, you know, the younger kids are everyone's gonna think their era is the best era. But this really was, to me, the golden era of hip hop was the best era to me because it was so new. You'd never heard it before. I know that I saw and heard a lot of people say that it wasn't going to be anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't going to last or whatever. You know, here we are, 40, 50 years later. It's crazy, and it's the biggest music, if I'm not mistaken. It's the biggest genre.
It is, and it's the most influential, and it tells the most amount of truth, and it speaks to the community. And that's the other thing. I had no idea. I didn't know what role I was supposed to play in this, even as a fan. I was like, how do I relate to this? This seems to be coming from New York. It's speaking very specifically to the community and the culture in New York at the time, because it hadn't really branched out beyond that. And I wasn't, and still will never be close enough to truly understand what it means to the community. But the music and the energy of it, and the fact that it was telling me stuff I could have never ever have learnt about through entertainment, but it always felt like I was learning shit. Do you know what I mean? I never just felt like it was disposable. It felt so significant. From the minute I heard it, it felt significant. Well,
especially like if you look at Public Enemy and KRS-One, like that video, My Philosophy video from KRS-One, when he was, man, the black and white BDP jacket and the fucking Nikes, the Nikes he had, the black and white, man, come on. I wanted those so bad. But the dopest part was like he stood in front of that car and just leaned up against it and started spitting his rap a cappella. That shit was so dope to me. But it was like, but every album that came out, you had something that was, in my opinion, at the time it came out, was like, this is the best shit ever.
Groundbreaking.
This is the best shit I've ever heard. And then fucking G-Rap would come along and just be like, what the
oh my
like,
God.
G-Rap was, you know, I was thinking this too yesterday when I was listening to the Tougher Than Leather album. Run DMC was doing like multi-syllables back then that I didn't notice when I was a kid, like on Papa Crazy. He ain't the finest food, he ain't the kindest dude, like finest food, kindest dude. Like I was like, what the it blew my fucking mind. I was like, I didn't even notice that. But you know, they do all kinds. A lot of time I take for the rhyme I make. And I'm thinking back then as a kid, fake and make was the words that rhyme, when really it was the whole phrase.
The whole phrase.
Each of those two phrases.
And the thing is, their charisma and their energy was so powerful that I think, and this is a bold statement, but I don't think they actually got their dues as lyricists.
Yeah.
Because they were such a superstar, a whole holistic experience of just charisma and power and energy, that you're right. When you listen to the way that they were inventing flows and changing things, it was almost overshadowed by their own energy, you know?
And it would be like, for me, like what I would pay attention to is, name is Run, my son.
Number one for fun.
Not a gun that's done and get done by none. Like all those, almost every word rhymes.
Yeah.
Then Big Daddy Kane came along and said, confuse and lose, abuse and bruise the crews who choose to use my name wrong will pay dues. When he did that shit, I was like, man, I quit. I don't even want to rap anymore.
You know, the moment that I realized that everything had changed was a Big Daddy Kane moment. In fact, there were two significant moments around that time for me. One was Big Daddy Kane on that album, and the other one was Rakim. Eric B. and Rakim for me. That moment,
I was just about to say,
I Ain't No Joke came out. That moment for me was like, Oh, because it sounded so rough. It sounded like the mix was so disgusting. It was just like, oh.
Yeah, man. That was around that time when Rakim first came out. I remember I was at my grandma Nan's house, and I used to, all we really had here in Detroit was The Wizard. And The Wizard was on WJLB. The Wizard every night from like midnight till whatever time would play hip hop, and it'd all be shit that I never heard. Kumo D, Go See the Doctor, like all kinds of shit. So what I would do is record the radio and then wake up the next day for school and listen to what I had. And the only bad thing about that was you'd hear one verse from somebody and then another verse would come in from a totally different song, which, you know, so a lot of times it'd be like, I know this first verse by heart, but I don't know the rest of the song by heart because, you know, that's all I got.
Rakim though, the goddamn MC.
Yeah. Rakim was the first. It's like the not, I don't know if he's the first to do multi-syllable rhymes, but one of the greatest things to Rakim about Rakim to me was he would use words that you've heard this word rhyme before, but it'd almost be like I don't, just use an example. I know he didn't say this, but like if it was, you know, girl and world, and then all of a sudden Rakim, you'd expect him to rhyme that, and he's rhyming plural and rural. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay, these words haven't really been rhymed yet. And He was the first, like, I take 7 MCs, put them in a line.
When I heard Lyrics of Fury.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which to me, every time I hear it, I get these uncontrollable goosebumps. Like my whole body just washes over with these goosebumps. No, there's only one capable, breaks the unbreakable, melodies unmakeable, pattern unescapable. A horn if you want the style I possess. I bless the child, the earth, the gods, and bomb the rest.
Yeah, man. That's the God MC right there. Yeah, all the multi-syllables, like, and Rakim just kept getting more complicated with the every time he came out.
And the music was so sophisticated as well. Like the beats was so sophisticated at the time too. And it was like he would just lay waste over these tracks that were sampling things that just felt so tasteful and so mature.
Yo, Rakim had a lot of beats that would eat most MCs up. You know what I'm saying? Like his beats would be like, they were so dope, but he would outperform the tracks even. You know what I'm saying? Like, and most MCs would have got swallowed up by that shit. But yeah, man, like when people compare, like when they try to compare eras, hip hop's went through too many different transitions to really, for anyone really to be the best rapper of all time. Because rap has went through transitions, it's evolved. You know, now people are doing things with flows that I'm like, I never could have seen happening. But at the same time, rappers from that era meant so much more to that era just because of, you know what I'm saying? Because there were so many innovators and there were so many rappers that were like,
we were lucky. We were around to see it start to actually grow as fans. Because that's all this is, right? Yes, you've gone on to establish yourself as one of the most influential, important, and successful rappers of all time. And I know that was the goal from day one. And congratulations, you're achieving it. But this is fan talk. I mean, how many times have we talked about your career, your records, your moments? And I love every single one of them. But the reason why I've been looking forward to this so much is that this is fan talk. Like, we just grew up at a moment and it was like just, it was fate, you know, that our generation, we were just the lucky ones that could see it actually start to take shape.
Yeah, man. I know I've been around for a minute, but I don't feel like, honestly, in my heart of hearts, I don't feel like anything I did, anything I've done up to this point is more influential than they were to their era. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that to me, like I will never mean more than they meant to their era, you know. And that, man, I can't even, like, a lot of times people are like, when they ask you when they ask me what my top favorite rappers are, I don't even know how to answer that, because there's so many rappers that have been so great and still are great. And by the way, I think Rakim probably is still great. I haven't heard anything he's working on lately, but I guarantee you he ain't lost that shit.
Yeah.
because it just that kind of shit don't go away. It just doesn't.
Do you notice the lists when they come out sporadically? And it's great. It's great for fans to dive into that debate because it's energy and it's debate and it's good. And you're always on the list.
Yeah.
Do you read the list when it goes viral and it's like, all right, top 28 rappers of all time, and then the whole thing sort of becomes, it sucks the air out of the room? Do you sort of log on and check that stuff out when it's happening?
I don't really I've seen, like, I don't know if it's fair to say I don't really get into those lists. Like, I don't really, like, it doesn't really matter to me. I know for a fact how I feel. I rap to be the best rapper, but I'm not the only rapper who raps to be the best rapper. Wayne, Cole, Kendrick, Joyner Lucas, they rap to be the best rapper. And I feel like that's, you know, when you push yourself like that, that's what I feel like inspires greatness. So, but the list, man, it's too, you have to go, sometimes you almost have to go by era, you know. Tupac. I feel like rappers like Rakim, G-Rap, Kane, like Tretch, Pharoah Monch, when KRS-One would drop some new shit, it just outdid whatever was before that. And then along comes Rakim, and he outdoes that. And then along comes G-Rap, and he starts outdoing everyone else. Redman was, like, to me, one of the most consistent artists, still rapping to this day, is one of the most consistently dope rappers.
Well, because he has a charm about him. When Redman raps, sometimes he'll make you laugh.
Yeah.
You know, Redman has the ability to paint some of those pictures that on the surface could seem too raw, too real, but he'll deliver them in a way that's almost charming, you know? So he draws you in and then tells you the realest shit, but he does it in a way that's like, I'm Redman, I'm Reggie Noble, you know? You like me.
Yeah, Reggie, Nas.
Well, let's talk about Nas for a second, because Halftime's on the list. And that's obviously for fans, that's on Illmatic 5 Mic Classic.
Yeah.
That's a real fans cut as well. Like when the debut album came out, Halftime had been out. It was actually already in existence. People knew about it, but he included it on the final track listing, which is something because that track listing is 10 songs in 36 minutes. It's so reduced and so essential.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Halftime? And as someone who kind of, I guess, grew up being a fan of Nas before you were a contemporary of Nas's, what is it about him that you loved as a fan before you got to know him as the artist?
I mean, there's too many moments that he had for me to even be able to count them. One of the reasons that I picked Halftime, though, is because there's some rhyme schemes on there that most rappers to this day probably can't do. And that's one of the things that has made Nas so great over his career. Like when he, cause when I blast the herb, that's my word. I'll be slaying them fast, doing this, that, and the third. But chill past the entree and let's lay. I bag bitches up at John Jay and hit a matinee. He was rhyming entire sentence. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, Illmatic, I can't even, you know, everybody knows that is a classic, essential album.
Yeah.
Start finding your own that you feel like haven't been done yet, that's when it becomes fun. Yeah, man, there's too many great MCs from that era that it's really hard to, like, pick somebody, because it was like everyone, the newest person to drop an album out of the MCs, and there's I'm probably forgetting a couple MCs, but, like, they were the best until a new G-Rap album came out.
Yeah.
Then he was the best.
Yeah.
Until, you know, and it just kind of went, like, a lot of times the titles to me best rapper were like they just flip-flopped all the time.
But someone like G-Rap was so underrated. Like, if you think about him in the grand scheme, real rappers know and credit him. But like Wanted Dead or Alive, the beats on that album and the stories he would tell, and even just the way he would tell them, they were like movies. It's like he was the protagonist in a Scorsese film, but rapping these stories over beats. You know, it was so vivid.
You know, when you get, like, into super, like, nerdy like, I always wonder why. Let me see, what was it? Master Ace. Okay, there's another rapper.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be put up there with the greats. He made Music Man. He made so many dope. There's one song on Live and Let Die, I think, that Marley Marl used the same beat, and I always wondered why they had this. Yeah, they had the same beat. Here it comes. Boom, 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 boom.
You know what I was really happy to see on here, which made me laugh? I had to have a chuckle. Is Heavy D. I mean, Heavy D shows up a few times on this, a great gentleman in hip hop, but Don't Curse. I mean, what the you put Don't Curse on your playlist? Come on. You didn't take that advice.
I mean,
it never landed with you, the actual theme of that song.
I mean, that's another one of the things that make it so great. I mean, the reason I picked Heavy D too on a couple of these songs is because sometimes I got to go back to and remember like how great some rappers were, right? Heavy D, RIP to Heavy D, man. I had nothing but the utmost respect for that dude. And he was one of the most underrated rappers to me because he was like a chameleon, because he could get on a song with Tretch and keep up. You know what I'm saying? He had commercial hits and then he could go.
Yeah.
Like he ready for them, but them not ready for me. That's man. Like, yeah, Heavy D was a chameleon.
Yeah. And he was widely regarded as a gentleman in the game. I mean, he was somebody who had a lot of respect from other artists, and kind of, I always had this feeling when Heavy D was around that he was showing people a little bit of how to run their business, a little bit of how to grow in this business and carry yourself in a way that wasn't just chasing down the next hot record. He seemed bigger than that to me.
Yeah. Heavy D was like Biggie to me. Like he had the kind of commercial hits that no matter how much you heard him, you never really got tired of him.
Well, he leaned into the New Jack Swing scene as well for a while, and that was like a big thing for him when it was like yep. He was like, he would navigate that whole tempo change when he would make records for the dance floor, and that was the difference. Like that was when hip hop was like, oh, okay, rap music was starting to appeal to DJs and to dance floors, and people would be really dancing. Scoob and Scrap, that would roll with Big Daddy Kane, and Trouble T. Roy that would be with Heavy D, and the whole thing. It felt like you would have dances, right? Were you ever a dancer? Did you ever have dances? Like when you were doing your thing, did that ever factor into what you were trying to build when you were a young artist?
I don't know. I know that I did breakdance a little bit, and I wasn't really good at it, but I started to get like decent at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same as holding a microphone. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the funny thing is, it seemed like dancers are coming back. Like I've seen a lot of rappers lately have dancers.
Yeah.
I probably won't.
You can't see some interpretive dance to Stan, just some kind of like...
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work out, but that should actually be hilarious. That shit would be hilarious.
Pete Davidson did a good job, man. You got to hand it to him.
Oh, yeah.
He flipped that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember they sent me the lyrics to it, and I was reading them on paper, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be that good. And then the way when he said it... Yeah. Like, I was like, holy like he said it so good that he sold every single thing. And you can't, first of all, everybody's raps look terrible on paper, right? Because you don't necessarily know, unless you're a rapper yourself, you don't necessarily know where, even if you are, you don't know where they're going to hit the beat at, what pocket they're going to choose. Yeah. And he was in an ill pocket. Like he was kind of going like, and he'd go a little faster and then he kind of slow down. So you could catch what he just said the first time you hear it.
I love that you were looking at it through your fingers just like the rest of us were, because it's like that song is it's become this iconic moment for you, but it's like millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people love that song. And so when you're going to bring it into a comedy environment, it's such a powerful story. You're like, oh no, just Pete, no, what are you doing? But he kept your intensity. That's the thing.
Yeah, his delivery was for sure really on point, because it was not what I expected when I saw it. I was like, man, this is actually really good. The whole thing was great.
Up, Stu.
It's way too much dope shit. Like, I don't know if you can see all these titles and shit, but
close your eyes and pull one. Just close your eyes and pull one. Let's just do a random one.
Okay.
Right. Tell us a story about what do you got? What's in your hand?
Is that upside down?
Oh yeah, MC Shan. Was that a hard one to get? I feel like that might have been an easy one to get because that's such a huge moment for New York at that time.
Yeah, that was definitely, it was definitely one of the more easier ones to get. There's a couple that I still can't to this day. Audio 2.
Yeah.
Actually, I did find one. I got an Audio 2. The What More Can I Say? The first album.
Yep.
I have an unopened and an open one, but it took me about 3 years to find it. Like sometimes you got to just hope that. I think a lot of these tapes where they come from probably is having them in stock back then. And then if they don't sell, they probably just end up in a box somewhere and someone just takes them home.
There was a great story a friend of mine had that when Profile Records went down, someone gave him a call and just said, hey, man, there's just like thousands of Profile Record vinyl in this warehouse. Do you want to come in and make an offer on this Profile Records, this whole entire collection? He just walked out with just like every single copy of anything ever made on Profile Records because the warehouse that manufactured them just went out of business.
Yeah, that's crazy. And there's always going to be the value of that shit is just going to keep going up because it might not mean much to you, but to someone else, it's going to mean so much more that they would pay that much money to have it. You know, Shop got to Illmatic cost me $500. $500.
Wow.
For an unopened Illmatic. Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of stoked though.
And I'm not going to lie. I opened that bitch.
You just devalued the shit of it.
But whatever, it's not even about that. Sometimes I will sit here and play. If I'm fucking bored, I'll play some tapes and just sit here and look at this.
Do you still manufacture yours on cassette? Do you still put your records out on cassette? I can't recall.
Yeah, we do. Sometimes we have like a limited edition kind of thing.
That's cool.
I think everything up to Kamikaze. I don't know if we have Music to Be Murdered By yet.
Before you even get to Large Professor, who just crushed every one of those tracks, and that song in particular was very, very important at the time and remains important to that's the song you could listen to today, and sadly it's the sentiment remains the same. But you know, the beats on that record, I just remember like it to me, production wise, hearing them lean into those grooves. It was the same time as Tribe, and I just felt like record stores were getting rinsed. There was a small group of producers and fanatics out there that were going into these bins, going to 72 to 74 year on the back, didn't matter what it was, and just rinsing them. And no one had done that before. It was like the first time anyone was sampling all of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, man. Large Professor, that's one of the most underrated MCs of all time to me. Because, man, that first album, that's a classic. To me, that's right there with the Brand Nubian, with the Illmatic.
Totally. Like, Breaking Atoms is timeless. You could put that on now. It sounds as good. In fact, I did. In fact, I bought it on vinyl. I bought that on vinyl 4 weeks ago and put it on. And it was just start to finish. It's flawless victory.
Man. That's one of those albums that a classic album to me is an album that you can play straight through. I think that's probably would be my definition. One of the things that would factor in. But yeah, man, that was a play straight through album. Every song was dope. You got the beginning of Nas right there, Live at the Barbecue. Like he said, when I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus.
That line changed the whole. It was that, but that was the line that set the whole thing up. I remember reading the press. It was like The Source and maybe one other thing you could get information on rap records back then, and we would import it into New Zealand. It would take weeks to come. And I remember them like reviewing that song and just they couldn't get their head around that lyric. That was like, oh my God, that lyric. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's weird because you set the bar even higher. I mean, it's funny. It's like you heard that line and decided that's going to be my architecture from here on out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. At first I was like, yo, this is like, it was almost like Nas was doing acid rap. Like it was very anti. I don't know. It was very
it was antagonistic. It was
racy for that time.
Yeah, it was antagonistic. Yeah. It was like, whoa, what did you just say about one of the most important religious figures in the history of humanity?
Yeah, man. I move swift and uplift your mind. Shoot the gift when I rip and rhyme. He's doing it there.
Yeah.
Whole sentences rhyming.
Who were the defining voices for you that opened that door in your cerebellum, in your mind, that you felt allowed you to not have any breaks when it came to what you wrote? Because when you came out, it was like, wow, this guy has no breaks. He'll say anything and everything that comes to his mind that he feels is dope. But there must have been people before you that encouraged you to do that, right?
Ghetto Boys. I definitely feel like I took a page from their book, and I also think I took a page from, I mean, obviously the Dre affiliation, but with NWA, because like to me, like hip hop, especially in those early stages, was like when Ice-T came, like when I had listened to Rhyme Pays, he was cussing on it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do this. You know what I'm saying? And then Schoolie D.
Oh my God. That's wicked.
Schoolie D came out, and it was like, what the like?
Ooh.
He was raunchy, right? He was cussing. But then when NWA came out, it was your mother, fucking you, fucking shut the fuck up, fucking eat shit and die, you.
And then you get to the interludes.
Ice Cube. I don't talk about Ice Cube enough, man. Like I said, it's just hard to remember because there's so many great rappers.
Let's talk about Ice Cube.
Bro, cutting edge. Cutting edge. When I heard Gangster, I was like, what the fuck? Like that shit was like I said, I didn't even know I didn't know you were allowed to swear that much. He also had one of the best deliveries. Like the way he said his shit. I'm trying to think like to me, like when I think about deliveries, I feel like Chuck D. There's a lot of rappers have great deliveries, but yeah, but Chuck D to me was like Chuck D and Brother J from X Clan.
Oh yeah,
had the best deliveries like ever. Like stomping, walking in my big black boots. Like man, that shit was like living off the earth, eating trees and fruits. Like man, that another rapper right there, I feel like is very underrated.
He'd almost make everything sound like this, like it's a and
yeah, but it was it's so commanding.
Yeah,
commanding. That's what I'm looking for. The word, like a commanding voice, like Chuck D. When he said one word, you listen. DMC, like the commanding, deeper, bassier voices, I guess you would say.
That wall behind you, right? That's an exercise in manifestation. Like every one of those cassettes that you wanted to own, that you knew you already loved, but you didn't have the money to own them, that just continued to feed your ambition and your desire to make your voice heard, right? To add value, to be a part of it, And then you go through that list and you've met a lot of people on that wall. Now that we're in fan mode, and it's just you and me talking as fans of music, do you have moments where it just privately, it just blows your mind? Like I know how proud you are of that LL Cool J poster. It just blows your mind that you've met so many people on that wall of tapes behind you that you were just a fan of, you know?
Yeah, I mean, LL, like I met him at a Foot Locker when I was, when I was doing my shopping for the first album cover, the Slim Shady LP. And he was just standing in there by himself, right? And he walks up to this woman that worked for Dre at the time, and they knew each other. So they were like, "Hey, what up?" And I'm standing. I don't even know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, how do I not play myself in front of one of my favorite rappers of all time? I got to figure this out. And he quoted one of my lyrics I forgot what song it was. Oh, he said, "How can I be white? I don't even exist." Wow. And I was like, what the So Dre had played him that shit. But I just it blew my mind. Like that was I think Tretch is actually the first rapper that I ever met, like famous rapper in person.
And he's one of your absolute favorites, right? Like I know he's in the top 3 for you.
Oh, he's up there. He's definitely, he has to be up there. Like he taught me so many things, like different flow patterns and shit. Man, he was so unorthodox with the flow and always had the punchlines. What he said, I heard your tape and flip the next side looking for the deaf side. You couldn't be all right if I erased your left side. Like he had the punchlines, man. So I'm in Vegas at this time and nothing was popping with me and Dre yet. We actually went out there because the Slim Shady EP, we had a dude who wanted to buy 3,000 of them. So we were like, what the fuck? Let's go out to Vegas. We end up in this flea market. There's people selling clothes and shit like that. There's a Naughty by Nature booth. And Tretch is standing there. Standing there selling his own shit. I'm like, what the f-? So I walked up to him. I was nobody. You know what I'm saying? Asked him if I could get a picture. Told him what a fan I was. I'll bet you he probably don't even remember that. But I think I was in that yellow jumpsuit where I looked like a banana that Dre always makes fun of. But it was a clothing company that was just starting out, and they knew I was just starting out, and they gave me an outfit. They gave me a sweatsuit. Man, I wore that bitch 6 out of 7 days.
You learned a valuable lesson that day. You got to watch those endorsements. They'll get you.
Yeah, man. But No, he was just so cool. Like, he was just so cool to me. And I always remember that. Like, man, I wonder, I can't even remember what I said to him because I was just super nervous and just took the picture. But I don't know if I got a chance to tell him what a fan I was or am still. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know if I don't remember what I said to him. Probably was some dumb shit. I say a lot of dumb shit to other famous rappers, and I'm like, what the why did I say that? Oh my God.
Let's do one more.
Let me see. Big L.
Oh, wow.
Big L, man.
Yeah, gosh.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
He was one of the innovators too of punchlines. Mad Skills. Got Mad Skills. You remember him?
Absolutely.
Mad Skills had the punchlines. I hate saying had because I don't know like if they still rap or not.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys might just have not put out an album lately. You know what I'm saying? And it might be just off my radar.
I like that first Apache album. Remember that Apache album?
This one?
Oh!
And the single I found. Same guy selling it.
God.
Unopened. I opened them though.
You got a problem. You have the worst discipline for a collector ever.
I know, right? So Apache, I don't know if you remember the song with Lakim Shabazz. That's another underrated MC.
Yeah.
Lakim Shabazz. So 1 motherfucking 2 motherfucking 3.
Yeah.
Apache was like, tell me, is this some type of tournament? I'll cut your fucking head off and use it as a Christmas tree ornament. Come and give me your test. Whoever claims to be the best leaves with a 40 below footprint on their chest. Lakim, Shabazz, Apache, and then Tretch comes in at the end and kills it. Man, that
Flavor Unit were the truth, man. They had so much talent in their ranks at that moment in time. They ran the game. Latifah had just assembled this Voltron, this Avengers of rappers. It was crazy.
Yeah, man. Latifah was one of the first, like,
beast.
To me,
a beast on the mic.
I don't want to. Yeah, like yeah. That would probably describe it. Back then, it was not that many females that rapped. Salt and Pepper was great. Roxanne Shante. I have that here. I probably have pretty much every tape you could think of. Too many dope ones. Yo, Tony D.
Oh my God, Tony D. Poor Righteous Teachers.
Yeah, Tony D. You know what always confused me?
They're underrated. Poor Righteous Teachers are supremely underrated.
I never understood the beef between Wise Intelligent and YZ. And I loved them both. Yeah, I loved them both. And I always wondered, how did Tony D do that? Because he did the beats for both of them.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
Now, Third Base.
Yes, please.
Like, to me,
yep.
This is one of the most classic albums 100%. In the history of hip hop. I saw an interview with MC Search recently where he was saying, somebody asked him, I can't even remember where I saw it, and somebody asked him about if he thinks he influenced me. And he was like, nah, no, I like whatever, like that's bullshit. And that is bullshit because he did influence me very heavy. But Third Base, I was very inspired by Third Base. And it wasn't even just the fact that it was two white MCs.
Yeah.
The music and the way they rapped for that time period was fucking cutting edge. When Search was like, the light goes up, my mic blows up, the silence is now set, like he was doing those in between. You ain't my knucker, sucker, I'm snuffing. That kind of shit I paid attention to. Like that album, those two albums taught me a lot, man. They taught me a lot. And then I hated the fact that they broke up.
Yeah, me too. I hated it. You could tell in Derek's dialogue they were falling apart, and the whole thing was really awkward and ugly, and it was a shame because they were this like they were unique regardless, as you say, of their skin tone or any of that stuff. Their music they made remains uniquely unique. And this is a really beautiful full circle moment here as we say goodbye. Dude, I've fucking loved this conversation. Thank you for the time and for the energy and the music talk, man. I've loved it.
Absolutely.
But this is full circle, Em, because and talk about people not remembering things. You won't remember this. The first time we met, you were on a UK promo tour for My Name Is, just the song at the time, no album. And you came in with Paul and Mark, and we had a conversation. And I didn't really know anything about you at the time, but I knew that I loved the song. So all I had to go on was like, your influences. There wasn't enough of a story that was being laid out for me. And we talked about Third Base. And it was the only band that you really lit up when I talked about like, oh, what about Third Base? And I was really nervous to bring it up because of the skin tone and like, oh, no, he's going to be like, great, you're making another comparison to a white rap group. Yeah, cheers, thanks, dude, do your research. But you lit up and you were super good about them then. You were like, I love Third Base. That's crazy that we're finishing this conversation with that.
Yeah, man. They MC Serch, like I said, like I saw that interview and I was like, oh, come on, Serch, you gotta know you inspired me. You know what I'm saying? Because like Serch and Pete Nice, man, I wish that they would have stayed together. I wish they would have made more albums. I wish there wasn't the tension between the two of them and it wasn't like that. But I'm not the one to, ain't my call. So
you don't have that problem, man. Yours is a solo mission. Hey, whatever comes next, man, I'm excited for it. I hope our paths cross then. But in the meantime, man, I really appreciate you, bro. As always, great to connect with you again. It's been too long.
Thanks, man. Take care.